We are back, Mark.
We are
out
back.
of your league. Where have you been? You're looking very tan, very bronze.
Holidays.
Bronze goddess.
Yeah, goddess. We'll go with that.
How was your holiday?
Stressful. You got 3 little kids. It's not really a holiday. It's probably harder work than being at home and going to work. So
Sounds shit.
yeah, so much that's shining. Had a few cervezas and a bit of food on the beach. It was nice, but just with swimming pools and kids that just have no fear. There's always that risk that they'll just go diving one day and just daddy'd have to save them.
Well, that might not come out.
Yeah, it didn't happen though. Thankfully.
Rather awkward. Where we went to 4.9 stars.
What were we before I left?
4.8.
That's Kyle Amo.
Yeah, I think it was Kyle.
Well done, Kyle.
He took us up.
He should just take
points
both
a
of
star.
our jobs, shouldn't he, and just do a one-on-one.
I think he will do
Yeah.
eventually. Yeah, probably next season because
Yeah.
we're losing people like flies, aren't we?
We are indeed.
What was the name of the guy that used to sit here?
James
Wilkinson.
Wilkinson.
Johnny Wilkinson.
Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah. He's got his own podcast now.
Yeah, he's
which is
good.
probably
He's
worth
on
listening to, but not quite 4.9 stars.
He's doing well for himself. Good on him.
We are joined today, Mark, by a fellow coffee connoisseur. Smells of coffee in here, doesn't it? Ashton Nathaniel Graham Golding.
Nathaniel. I don't know which
That's
is
a
better,
name.
Nathaniel or Graham.
That's a name. Ash, that's a name.
I don't think I've ever been introduced with my full Christian name. Do you know what I'm saying?
Where's Nathaniel and Graham come from?
Graham, well, I'll go Nathaniel first, is one of my elder brothers. Nathan. But I don't know what happened there, and I just thought Nathaniel sounds good.
Sounds a bit snazzy.
And Graham's after my granddad.
Nice.
So yeah, I carry his name with me, which is good. But put it all together, and it's a bit of a mouthful. So it's just Ashton Golding.
Ash will
do
do,
you,
wouldn't
do you
it?
go by
Ash will do.
Ash rather than Ashton, yeah?
No, I prefer Ashton because it's a bit more unique.
Oh, do
It's
you?
a bit of a
Alright,
talking
We'll
point.
call you Ashton then. Cool.
Oh, you can call me whatever you want.
I'll call you Ashton Nathaniel Graham Golding, if that's all right. Also, by the way, Mark, the co-owner of Palm Coffee Company in Leeds with Oliver Wilson. So obviously the question is, are you aware, Ash, of Mark's coffee background or
No,
not?
I've never heard of it.
You're not?
I think, of course, you've got to have heard of it. If you're getting into a coffee trade from rugby, you have to kind of do your research and know the players that, are around. And have
There's
got
a few
coffee
of us,
shops
isn't
there is.
Yeah.
There was a...
Did Liam Sutcliffe do one?
yeah, so he had one over near Roundy Park
Who had
with
one
Dom
in-
Crosby.
Who had one in Wigan?
Lee Mossop's got one in Wigan.
Mossop.
Yeah,
one in Wigan.
obviously yourself and John have got one. 1, 2, 3, I don't know how many now, 12.
Yeah, 12.
The empire
I wish,
continues.
I wish.
Myself,
And a bakery, but they don't want to talk about it.
you can't, Dan Fleming from Halifax.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was at Halifax, it's in Halifax. At Featherstone now, he's got one.
Right.
So yeah, there's loads. I mean, Luke Ambler had one. Has he
Yeah.
still got it? I'm not sure. The Hive,
I'm
was
not
it?
sure. No, I knew of it, but I'm not sure. to be
And
honest.
what was it now on Manchester Road? I can't remember his first. I don't know. It was by surname Patterson, was it?
Patterson, don't know.
Manchester Road
I'm
one.
sure there was another one in Wigan as well. They had a gym. Anyway, I can't remember. But
Kev Brown.
Kev Brown.
Oh well,
Yeah.
yeah. How can you forget?
I had a little look on the website, Mark, on
I did.
Palm Coffee Company. Coffee with a K, by the way. Edgy.
Yeah, it's a bit edgy, yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Just
prehistoric.
Throw it out there. You want to talk about some.
Offering a Scandinavian feel, providing a peaceful and tranquil vibe. They've provided a unique environment to enjoy, whilst also offering a modern edge.
I love that. Have you just copied and pasted like the bio?
That's
The about
straight, that's
us.
straight from Palm Coffee Company's website.
Yeah, it's
Which
good.
is
I had a
also
look.
incidentally, I copied and pasted.
From one in Scandinavia.
Just went to one called Freaker and thought this sounds good. Let's get it there.
I mean, we sort of, it's childish to compare, Mark, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah, it's
lattes
childish to
and
compare,
flat white.
so
How much would a flat white cost you at Palm Coffee Company?
We charge around about, well, the prices fluctuate, but we go for £3.10 for a flat white.
£3.10, Mark. Is that
Right,
sort of
three-
sort of figure?
330.
Is it actually £3.30?
Location dictates the price and the market that we're in, I guess.
Both great coffees, both great places.
Yeah,
we'll go with
Different
that.
drinks, different needs.
Yeah, that's true.
It
Both
is.
coffees.
It is.
We'll talk about it later because obviously we want to talk about life after rugby. But
Yeah.
you got a bit of an injury now, Ash, at the moment.
Yeah, my hamstring. So I was out for maybe 14 weeks with a hamstring rupture, clean rupture on the right side, and took me a while to get back. And then 2 games in playing St Helens, scored in corner, and as I was scoring, just hamstring pulled again.
Not from the celebration.
You need
Look.
skinny, slow legs like mine, and you never rupture anything.
Listen, no comment on that. No, it's because I'm playing next to Kevin Aguirre. It's just too fast. He gets ball takes off, and I'm expected to keep up with that. There's no way. But no, it's just one of them. I think I just outstretched, reaching for the ball, and then
Yeah.
I felt it go as I was going to score. But I thought I've got to keep going with this. I can't just pull up.
How frustrating though this time of the season to have that and not be able to sort of see out the end.
Real frustrating because I think every player this side of the coin now, when you can't help and perform with the boys, you just feel helpless as such. You know, I felt when I was playing, I was adding to the team, you know, performance-wise, but also experience a little bit. You know, I've been in these kind of situations before, and just helping the boys, the younger boys, especially people like Sam Halsall and you know, people who have probably not experienced this kind of, we do the job, we get to playoffs. You know, just keep them grounded, one job at a time and things like that. And to not be able to do that on the field with them at the time is hard. But, you know, I just, as soon as it happened, I texted Ian Watson. I just said, look, this might not be my role now playing in the team as playing, but I still like to add to the team as best I can wherever you need me. So
you can easily feel like an outsider when you're injured for the season. It's like you're a spare part. There's like team meetings going on, or there's strategy sessions, and there's little drills going on, and you're like on the outside trying to put you, like, just add your two penneth, and sometimes it's hard to get involved, isn't it?
100%. But I'm really bad for getting involved. You know, I'll stand there and then I might leave it. I think the best example I was out 14 weeks, and in them 14 weeks, you know, we weren't in some good form. You know, we're playing all right. We're getting there. And the first session back, as soon as I got in, as soon as the first time I touched the ball, that was it. Vocal. Everything that I felt for them 14 weeks just came out. And some stuff I said were true. Some stuff were absolute rubbish. But the lad just allowed me to get that out there, and then at least we can cipher through what's good and what we needed to hear. But you just feel like an absolute alien. But
be honest, because you hear this from sports people the whole time saying, oh, it's the loneliest time when you're there and you're watching everyone train and you're on the bike inside, you're trying to do some recovery in the swimming pool. Is there a little side where you're like, man, I'm going to sit at home, eat cookies in my underpants and play FIFA?
I wish. Honestly, I think you can ask any of the boys at Huddersfield. I'm just too active. I've just got too much away from.
You're giving off that energy, actually.
Yeah,
it's good.
Just
it's good.
too much. I just think like there's always something to be doing. So while if I'm injured from rugby and I can't play, it's such an opportunity for me because I've got other things going on that I could just put energy into. And it don't take away from the rugby. I think it complements it really well. I think it allows me to do it.
Have you always been like that?
Yeah.
Very active kid.
Yeah, I just think I've had to. I've got 5 siblings, so I was the second youngest. So I was the first one to get beat up because my mum won't be looking at second. She'd always watch out for youngest. She'd never watch out for second youngest, and I was the last one to get any money because I'd always give it to youngest, and everyone else would fill in as an older. So I'd had to make my own money. I've had to do all that kind of stuff. So I've just enjoyed kind of having to do it on my own, and then I've got used to it. So whenever there's like a bit of a downfall somewhere, like injuries, I enjoy the challenge of coming back and reinventing myself as such, which is quite good. For
those who don't know anything about Bramley, Ashton, tell us about that place, you know, just outside Leeds, West Yorkshire. What was it like growing up there for you?
Do you know what? Bramley is, as Jamie Jones Buchanan describes it in everything that he says, and I will copy him on this, it's the Big Apple. I think from the outside perspective, Bramley is not a nice place to live. I think if you're from the surrounding areas and you think, oh, you live in Bramley, people won't want to, it's not desirable. But when you're living in Bramley, in the community of Bramley, and you know, it's something that you can't probably replicate anywhere else. So I think I wouldn't be the man I am today without living and growing up there. I think it was an unbelievable, eye-opening experience for me. I had to get thick skin pretty quick, but equally without them experiences, I don't think I would have been as resilient as I am today.
Was it a humble upbringing then? 5 kids. What kind? Sort of describe the environment to us.
Yeah, look, I won't sit on here and say it was easy. You know, I won't sit on here and say I never saw my dad. You know, my dad was, you know, ever present every week or every other week, going to his house, wherever that may be. My mum, 5 kids, worked full time. You know, never took a penny off the government. She worked her absolute socks off to give us the start to life that we all deserve.
She's a single mum with 5 kids.
Single mum, 5 kids.
Wow.
Bundles up. Didn't drive at the start. Bundled us all into a taxi every morning. Took us all to school. Get the same taxi to work. Worked her absolute socks off. Comes picks us up after school. That was us. And you know, my sister was a little bit older, so she could look after us a little bit. And that kind of upbringing kind of humbles you a little bit. And you know, them obviously growing up, my stepdad was in the same house, and you know, I can't say it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. It was out, in my opinion. I loved it. I wouldn't change it.
Was it rich in love?
Yeah, well, it massively was. You know, we had each other's backs. It was just a case of Jordan's up street getting punched up. Let's go. There wasn't even a question of why, what. It's just that's my brother. That's us. So we stayed tight and thick as thieves. And yeah, why we didn't have enough money to go get this or that, it didn't matter because we'd still have each other kicking a flat football at top of the street and things like that. And then from there, you know, I guess the biggest decision that I made as a kid, which I don't know how I did at that age, I think I was 11, I decided not to go to the same high school as all my other siblings. I said, you know what, I think insanity is described as doing the same and expecting different results. Now, these guys are good, but I'm going to try and go on this route. So I went to a sports college, which was a train ride away, and I got the train every day. I got a Priestthorpe, and from there I met a new group of people, put myself out there on a limb, and that's kind of where the rugby really started to pick up and take off. From there, you know, primary school they were telling me to join a rugby club, and when I went to Priestthorpe, I had people who've actually played the sport. You know, Jamie Jones Buchanan was there, a man called Danny Ehrman was there, both coach Stanningley and things like that, and they just got round me, and from there, you know, I don't look back.
Were you aware of that decision making at that age, that you might need to go down a different path to your siblings? Pretty much. It was, you know, yin or yang, black and white, you know.
But where did that come from at that age, 11, to be able to think, you know, hold on, to think about your future? I mean, I do not remember thinking about my future when I was 11.
I don't know. I guess just because of the environment that I was in at the time, I think, you know, looking at the environment I was in, I was thinking, well, look, my mum has done everything she can to give me this environment. Surely it's on me to try and better this. I think as a kid, I want to do better than what I got, and then I want to give better than what I got, and what they do is better than what I can give them, and, you know, building up. So when I was young, I was like, look, if I go there, I'm going to look like this model of a typical Bramley lad, which is fine because I love Bramley, but there's also a level of, I think in myself, I felt like, I think I can do more, but I don't know. Priestthorpe was a sports college. I was playing football, got recognised a little bit by United, playing rugby, recognised a little bit by Rhinos, playing tennis, athletics. So there was a lot of sports going on. I thought, sports college has to be the one for me, because, I mean, intake was a performing arts, and I'm not good at that stuff, so...
So you mentioned playing football there and stuff as well, but you mentioned Jamie Jones Buchanan, who obviously you were looking up to as a kid. Were you a Leeds fan? Did you used to go on the terraces and watch the Rhinos or not?
You know what? When I could get free tickets from school, as mad as it sounds, that was a luxury for us in Bramley. So we couldn't really afford that. So, you know, we'd wait and see when the tickets came in, you know, Bramley St Peters, and they did sometimes. And we had a good little rugby team there, and we played at half time and stuff. So I got to go when we got the tickets, and, you know, I got a really, really vivid, fond memory of, my granddad's passed away now, where I got my name from, but I was stood on the terrace with my granddad, and we're playing St Helens. Sun just coming over the West Terrace, straight into Carnegie. We were in bottom left, and we were just staring, couldn't see a thing. But it was just, I was stood there, just looking up, my granddad was there, and that's a memory I'll always have. And from then, it was like, I didn't need to go much. I had that memory, I had that kind of gesture, and then from there, it just kind of spiraled and took off.
Yeah. Was it your granddad then that made you sort of not fall in love, because it wasn't a big passion as a kid, but that introduced you to rugby and showed you that world?
No, I think my granddad had played some rugby union, but like just a workmen's club in Meanwood. And, you know, I'd always go to workmen's club, I'd collect the bingo tickets and stuff like that, and I would always be around it, but I'd never watch it, I wasn't bothered. And then he took me there one time, and my teacher, Miss Dixon Dawson, or Leslie, I'm allowed to call her Leslie now, I think.
You don't have to say Miss,
yeah,
I didn't know,
what I mean? Miss Dixon Dawson. Respectfully, I'll call her Miss Dixon Dawson. She would probably get at me for it. She really pushed it, and got me to join the local rugby club Stanningley, and then from there, that's kind of how I worked out a few things.
So none of the other siblings played? No one else in the family played?
No.
No. What did you enjoy about it? Was it that physical side? Because you said you had, you know, brothers and stuff. Was it the tussle initially that drew you to it?
I think the brotherhood. I think being part of something. I genuinely believe when I was young, that just being part of a group that had a meaning about it. You know, often we'd just be walking round Bramley kicking a ball about, but with no real meaning, and then part of a team. And I was like, I was valued member of a team, and they needed something from me, I needed something from them, and you could rely on them. And I just fell in love with that kind of atmosphere that I found with Stanningley and the boys. And it doesn't matter where we trained. I'd walk. I actually used to get, later on in my career, but we'll get back to that bit. I got threatened a couple of times in my career for my contract to get ripped up. I used to run everywhere. I used to run to training, I'd run there, I'd run there, and I'd come into training with shin splints.
And
You've got far too much energy.
Oh, no, because I know I do.
Well, they wanted to rip it up because you were like Forrest Gump. You were just risking your stuff.
But that was from an early age. I couldn't get a taxi, on trainings.
Wow.
From Bramley, one side of Bramley to others, around a mile and a half. It's 3 mile round. It's not massive, but it adds up when you do it 3 times a week and then go to like Rhinos training and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And how old were you then?
So that was when I was about 10, and then that just bled through.
I love that.
That bled through, yeah.
What's the most you run to get to a training ground?
Yeah, so it was half a marathon.
What, to get to training?
No, it was like 7 there, 7 back.
Bloody
But
hell.
then, obviously, I was training in between as well, so it was like a load more than half a
When was
marathon.
that?
So we had a thing up at, have you ever heard of John Charles? Do you know where Hunslet play?
Yeah, John's Charles.
So that's
the
like near
Athletics.
White Rose.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Bramley. So I have to go straight down Ring Road, up Miggy, drop down South Leeds and Stadium. So we train there, and then I'd run back.
Did you do that?
Yeah. And then obviously
How
that was
often would you
that
do
was
that?
a Monday night. So that was just once a week, Monday night. But then we'd be training on Tuesday, training on Thursday with Academy. Wednesday would be Stanningley.
Yeah.
And then if you don't train for Stanningley on Wednesday, you play your Academy game, and then you'd be playing on Sunday.
But you're not
for the-
fucking
So you do
blowing
a
when you
quarter
turn
of a
up.
mile run, so a quarter of a marathon, train, and then do another quarter back.
Yeah.
Respect.
But then how, like,
But that's what I used to do. Now I drive, so it's all right.
Yeah,
I don't
but-
have to, but sometimes I wanna. But I just know I'm not allowed.
There must be some like deep burning desire inside you to want to go to training that much.
No, it's simple. Do you know what I used to think, and I kind of still do it now. It's if I'm not doing it, someone else is. If I'm not doing
I don't
this,
think anyone else is.
someone
No, I
else
don't
is.
think anyone else.
That's why I did it.
You win.
I win. By default, no one else is
Give
competing.
him Man of Steel now.
The coaches obviously knew all of them. I know some of them said that you can't do that because if you're going to play for us.
Yeah, no. Look, it was.
You
At
must have
Leeds,
been
it was.
absolutely blowing when you turned up.
I've had it at Leeds and Huddersfield. At Leeds, it was a little bit more serious. It was getting to the point where Ash, right, we're trying to build you as a fullback here, like, but you can't play fullback at 72 kilo. And they'd check my eating diary. They'd actually monitor my sleep. They monitor, and Ash, you're losing weight still. And then they asked me, like, what are you doing away from me? I just sat down with them, and it didn't end well.
Burning all your calories on the motorway.
Yeah, well, I just simply said, look, I can't afford to drive right now, and the only way I can do stuff is by running there.
Yeah.
And-
Did no one
Do
tell
you
you about the
enjoy
bus?
Yeah, it's just a peaceful way to just have time to yourself. Like when you got to do something and it's stressful, go for a little run, put some earphones in, listen to this podcast, and you'll be fine.
There you go. Good message. There. Listen to this podcast.
We could get it 5 stars.
So what age were you when Leeds started taking a serious look at you?
So I think Leeds took me serious pretty much straight on. That club for me really embodied it. I mean, they're just down the road from Bramley. They understand exactly what it's about. And
But how old were you when you first were at Leeds?
So
12?
about 13.
Yeah.
13, late starter, I think.
So you'd only been at the college a couple of years.
Yeah, no, that's it. I was there 13, debuted back end when I was 16.
Were you a natural athlete?
Yeah, I could run, could do all the athletic stuff. You had to teach me rugby. Rugby was a second thing to me. As in, like, if I was a track and field athlete, it'd have been a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
But where I lived and everything, it was literally just down the road, Leeds Rhinos. It was so easy. So when I was running there, it was like only a mile, but it was all downhill, so it was understood. And then we come to an agreement, actually. We come to a good agreement, get myself a road bike and just cycle down. But it was a 2-minute cycle down a hill. So we understood each other, then I could still get there, and it was a little bit less. Then my bike got robbed, so I started running again.
Was it daunting going in at that age and being around the likes of JJB and Rob Burrow and all these stars, and McDermott being there, and because you were there sort of like 2010, 2011, 2012, you made your debut in 2013. Were you 16 when you made your debut?
Yeah.
That is young.
Yeah, well, I was just about to go 17. I was 16. I think it was the week before Leeds went to Wembley. But yeah, absolutely daunting. Do you know, these respectfully, when I was growing up, I wasn't watching much rugby. It was all on Sky and stuff. I never got to see the stars. You'd see JJB coming into my school, and that was about it. So when I started,
you hadn't watched a lot of rugby as well.
no. So when I was coming in, I was just like, I probably, a lot of them probably thought I was arrogant, but it wasn't. It was just probably ignorance, or naivety, and then you'd start training, and we'd do some fitness tests. I want to win, so pam, and then we'd do some weight session and no way I can keep up with people, but I'm trying. And by the end of it, people started to understand that it wasn't like that. It was just ignorance. And then I got to know people for the people instead of going in and looking at a superstar and being nervous. I got to know him as a person, but there was a lot of bags getting picked up and thrown out of changing rooms I had to deal with. You know, the first day I walked in, someone sat me straight in JP seat. Bag got absolutely picked up. Went, yeah. There was a rule as well. I wasn't allowed to wear. Do you know leg skins?
Yeah.
Everyone wears leg skins without shorts on.
Yeah.
You got to make your debut before you can do that, son. So go put your shorts back on.
Is that a rule?
Yeah.
That was the Leeds thing.
No, that was just a rule. That was a rule that we got told. I was like, but yeah, I'm not even going to argue this. He is. Yeah, it was great.
Who took you under their wing then? Do you remember any of the senior guys who sort of really helped you?
Obviously Jonesy. Jones is a massive reason of like the way I think and what I do. You know, he's the exact same things in every pie that he can. Real thinker, likes to plan it out, methodical. I like to model myself on something like that. But you know, I got on with so many throughout my time at Leeds. I think I was there 5 years in the senior setup. So each year there was somebody else. You know, Mitch Garbett, when he came along to Leeds, he was unbelievable for me. He gave me like a breath of fresh air and, you know, just give me that new lease of life as such. And then, you know, the younger lads, the lads that are now playing regular Super League, I thought they were class, like Ash Hanley and Liam Sutcliffe. You know, they're a group of lads that I'll always keep in touch with. They're really nice blokes. And while they were, you know, playing at the same time as me, they would also be older than me, so they were senior. So I'd listen to them.
You must have really thought you'd arrived though in 2013 when you pull on that Rhino shirt at 16 years old.
Yeah, look, it was massive for me. You know, through whatever reason, I got the nod and I was absolutely stoked. Went down to London.
Broncos, was it? Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, I remember that game. Went down to London. They've not won a game all year. I'm on bench. It's 36-6. We're winning. That brings me on. Hold my beer. We lose 40 points to 36.
Yeah.
That happened to me as well.
Oh my gosh! I just walked it changing, happy, beaming. I was like, yeah, we lost, and like, you're going to Wembley next week. Relax.
How responsible were you for anything?
Oh, I was woeful. Joe, Keezy broke through about 3 times and stepped me 3 times. But I walked in them changing rooms,
Buzzing.
took my playing shirt off, put it in my bag. I got coach come to me next day and said, "If you took your playing shirt," I went, "Yeah, it's my debut shirt." I went, like, "You should have asked for that, mate. You shouldn't be taking that. You lost." No. I worked hard for this shirt. This is mine.
My debut was against Celtic Crusaders in 2010, I think it was. And they'd not won a game all season. I was absolutely buzzing. We got beat that day. It was all my fault, so it was probably all your fault.
It just happens like
Doesn't
that.
it?
Luckily, there's about 4 of us debuting. Ash Hanley debuted the same game, actually.
Right.
Yeah, we debuted at the same time.
How do you reflect then on your time at Leeds? When you think you made 65 appearances in 6 years, you had a few loan spells as well. When you look back from sort of bursting on the scene to you know, perhaps in your, I don't know, maybe putting words into your mouth, but not staying there as long as you would have liked to.
Yeah, no, look, Leeds is that's my club, innit? That's my boyhood club that you grow up. And while there wasn't a resounding love for Leeds Rhinos as such, the city of Leeds is always going to be something massive to me, whether you're representing boxing like Nicky Adams or the triathlon like Brownlee Brothers. If you're from Leeds, I'll back you all the way. And it was same at Rhinos, and to get my shot to even play one game, look, I made a man upstairs happy. That's my granddad's dream, for me to stay and play there. And I did that, and luckily enough, I was lucky enough to do it 65 times. And yeah, probably cut short, to be honest. But me, I've always said, you know, I need opportunity.
Why was it cut short? Was that what you want?
Opportunity
From coaches?
Yeah, both. You know, the administration at Leeds was changing. It was swapping over. You know, I think we had McDermott and Ferner, and then Agar was in, and there was just a load of changes, which were, as it happens in sport, that's what happens. And you know, when changes happen, people's preferences change, and that's fine. And you know, I don't have a bad word to say about Leeds. The way they handled me were great. They could see that it was bothering me. They brought me in, they spoke to me. Kev Sinfield was outstanding with me when he was the director there. Really understood me as a person. I've played with him, so he understood me as a person, but equally he had a job to do to look after the club, and I had a job to do to protect my career. And we came to an agreement that, you know, I should look elsewhere. And that's a hard thing to hear from your hometown club, but it was also probably the right thing to hear at the right time. Look, you're not going to say that in the moment. You feel a certain way in the moment. You know, you're not sure which direction your career is going to take, and you know, you've done a loan spell at Featherstone, which I absolutely cannot knock that club for what we had and what we did. It was unbelievable, and Leeds gave me the opportunity to do that. And
you had a couple of spells there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Was it dual reg with Fed?
Oh yeah, did I? I played way earlier on as well, didn't I? I
16
think I played
and 19. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I got. Played Bradford, and look, I'm not knocking Bradford, class team. I played for them as well, but played them, and they went in. They got knocked down while we went and did something all right that year. I'm for a beer over me. I remember that. Yeah.
Do you think, had there been more stability behind the scenes then? Because you said the administration. I mean, it was a mental time for Leeds from the outside, because one minute they were, in a grand final, the next minute they were looking like they were going down.
Yeah, and look, Leeds, for me, it requires success. It requires success. And when it doesn't get success, the supporters, the board, the shareholders, whatever, they need it. It's ingrained in the culture, and equally then it's ingrained in the players. So it wasn't just a one-way frustration. It wasn't just the club looking at the players and being frustrated. The players are frustrated, and I was frustrated. I've seen from 2004 to 2014, the golden generation, and then from 14 they kicked on and they won another Challenge Cup, grand final in 17. So look, 2015, and then after that, the frustration was there from the players as well. Especially myself, and I want to win. And I guess it was just a case of, look, I had security. I'd just signed a 5-year deal. I had another 3.5 years left. I could have quite easily just sat there and waited for my time. And look, I know what I can do given an opportunity, but I have to give them the opportunity first. And I feel like for me, it was a big decision to probably say, look, I'm happy to explore other options, being a Leeds lad. And the club, to say that to me, had to protect themselves. And I don't think there's any bad blood there now. I love the club. I think what they did for me to start my career is outstanding and massive. And, nothing but respect for the people above the decisions, really, like Gary Everington and Paul Caddick, the people that run the club. They do it the right way.
Must have been torturous, though, to sort of not be involved in the grand finals, 15, 17, when you were around the club as well.
Yeah.
Did you go to Old Trafford on that night as well?
Yeah, look, I was 17 was probably harder than 15. 15 for me was probably a luxury to be there. I'd only played, I think the first year, 14, I played a game. 15, I might have played 6 or 7. So to be there around the squad was a luxury. It was an experience. It was, look, you take everything you can in there now. Because when it's your turn, we need you to do this. And then in 17, that was hard. That was hard. Me and Brian McDermott had some open, honest discussions. It was difficult. I'd played a fair few games that year. I was part of the squad. But
well, tell us about some of those, because not that we want to just hammer Brian every week, but we've had Ryan Briley on recently. You had some interesting meetings with him in a car park in Toronto. And if he's not, well, actually, I think it was in Rochdale before they went to Toronto. But if he's not having you, he's not having you, right?
No, but I can only say this as mad as it sounds. I don't think I've met many people that I don't get on with, and I really got on with Brian McDermott.
Yeah.
I think his coaching style suited me. I think the way that he manages people suits me. He's just openly honest. He's cutthroat.
He's straight as they come.
Oh, if you're not right for him, bye. But he'll tell you there and then why. And you can speak back. I actually think he likes the dialogue. He likes
but to be fair, to put Ryan's side across, he didn't. That was his whole point. He just said, and there's obviously always two sides to a story. But his was, he said, you can win Man of Steel. You could go on loan and win Man of Steel, but you're not going to play for me. But didn't give him a reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not about Ryan.
Situation and circumstances dictate certain things.
It just reminds me of sort of meeting Sir Alex Ferguson in a car park. It can be quite scary if you're on the wrong side of it.
Both good coaches.
Yeah, and you know what? When you've got a pedigree like Brian McDermott's and you're a young player coming through, I think you just do as you're told. I think, he wants you to have... I think with me personally, I think he wanted me to get that side to me. I was always, like I said, naive and ignorant and such, but that would also be a detriment to me because I wouldn't take things as serious as I probably needed to. And with him, he was teaching me, look, I need you to bite back. I need you to give me something like you care. And I'm like, I'll show you I care, but in different ways. I don't like this. And then we kind of understood each other, and, he gave me opportunities to start playing a bit of 9 and, showed me a little bit of the ropes, brought in Jimmy Lowes to help me work on my 9 play and Franny Cummins at fullback. So he gave me all support I could ask for. And yeah, I think he was good for me.
I think it's his background in the Marines that's probably quite authoritarian and straight talking, and that I understand that got the best out in him as a young man. He probably thinks likewise for young men that he's coached, whether that be yourself or Ryan or whoever. But it is a bit of a shock to the system because some coaches will call you into the office, tell you some bad news, but then tell you exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Whereas I would prefer straight talk, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah, I think straight talk. I don't even know if I can say certain stuff on this.
You can say anything you want.
He once pulled me into the office. So this was a point where I was playing fullback and I was really saving a load of tries, defensively very sound, catching all my balls, but just in attack it wasn't clicking. And you know, I had my opinions on why it wasn't clicking, but equally I'm playing with some greats. So it's me, right? That's all I'm gonna. It's me. And he brought me in. He said, "Look, Ash, you're up there, man of steel, best defensive fullback we've got, or the league's got at the moment. You're saving on average 3 more tries than every other fullback." I was like, "That's great." He went, "But I think you've got a stutter." I went, what do you mean? He went, "You've got an offensive stutter. As soon as we get the ball back, you don't wanna." And I don't get it because that's when everyone wants to. And I was just like, "Yeah, I know what you mean." Like I couldn't argue with it. I've never heard it said to me before. And he just said it as soon. He just plain said, "If you've got a stutter, you can't attack. You don't want to attack. You just want to defend." And I was like, "Yeah, you're not wrong."
But you'd never seen that in yourself.
Never heard it, never seen it, never thought it. Because when I was a youngster, score.
So there's like a blockage in there somewhere.
Yeah, and then now I'm like, he's telling me I can't do that. What is going on here? And you know, you go away, you listen to it a little bit, but he wasn't far wrong. He wasn't. Yeah. I'd value so much emphasis in the defence because I knew I had people like Joel Moon, Danny Maguire, Rob Burrow. Yeah. You had Kyle Uluwai to trank it ball up, Keith Galloway with Liam Sutcliffe. You had all these strike players. I didn't need to. We'd win games if I were just saving tries.
But that's proper coaching, right? Noticing something like that.
And that's when we kind of got the respect because I bit back and he wanted me to. He got a bite out of me then, and that was the day that he probably, you know, we understood eye to eye.
Yeah. So moving on towards Huddersfield, you knew time was up, right? You knew you had to have a new challenge and you knew you had to put on a new jersey. Yeah,
100%. I think, like I said, I had 3.5 years left in my contract at Leeds and Leeds knew that as well. So they was open for me to look elsewhere, but there wasn't going to... They were very, very clear on if you want to stay, we want you to stay. We are not asking you to leave. But if you want that opportunity elsewhere, we're happy for you to go and explore that. And I think that was a big thing for me because even months after I'd signed, you know, I was still in contact with the coach at the time and he was very happy for me to come back at any point, you know, if it wasn't working out or anything like that and Huddersfield would allow it, he was happy for that. And I think at that point, I was in myself, I said, look, at him for a penny, in for a pound, I'm here. And
Did you want to be the main man though somewhere else? Was it ego like that or not?
No, I've never wanted to be the main man. I've always just wanted to win. And for me, winning...
You'd want to hold down a position though, wouldn't you? And be...
At that time I did, yeah. At that time I wanted to go and be a fullback in another club.
It's frustrating and hard being in and out of a side or shifting position. Without wanting to be the main man, you'd want to cement a spot wherever that might be and have some consistency in your game.
I think it's massively important. Like, I wanted consistency, but I wanted respect. I think massively I wanted respect. And while the peers at Rhinos, you know, knew what I could do, in part because I wasn't probably doing it consistently. I think in 17 I did it consistently. In 18, not as much. And in 19 I was on loan. So, you know, that was what it was. And then with all that accumulating into it, the opportunity to go to Huddersfield, I couldn't resist. Just couldn't resist. I think I only needed to have one meeting with Rich Thewlis and know that was the club for me. I think the best thing that he ever said to me, and I actually reiterated it him the other day, and the first word he said, look, if you're honest with me, I'll be honest with you. And I think that's massive. I think in rugby league it is difficult to find such honesty with people, and without any lines blurred, it's just honest. And it's been like that ever since. And the opportunity came through my agent, really. You know, I was in contact with my agent just saying, look, they're allowing me to if we want to. And he says, look, no worries. Here's your options. And put some options in front of me. And it was clear cut. This is where I wanted to be. And it wasn't mainly about money or things. It was probably mostly about the opportunity that I'm going to get given. And the opportunity was there to play some fullback. And looking back, that was one of the best moves I've made, to be honest.
And a lot of people, when they think of your name and they think of that sort of time that you signed for Huddersfield, will remember the piece that you did with Sky with Michael Lawrence and Jordan Turner, Mark's old mate. And you became a sort of leading player to speak out and call out racism within rugby league as well, it was such a powerful piece, which I know Martin Afire had lots of things to say about as well. You're of Jamaican descent. Where does that come from in the family?
My granddad on the other side.
Yeah.
He still lives in Leeds, actually.
Okay.
So he came over
from your dad's side?
Yeah. He came over in the Windrush generation, and then just working on the railway.
When were you first aware of your colour? And that sounds like a crazy question, but when were you first aware of people picking you up on things? Because I know you've said you've almost become desensitised to racism, right?
Yeah, look, what we probably see as racism now, when I was growing up, was just a compliment or something crazy. And I know it sounds mad, but in Bramley it was a heavy working class white community. So to be isolated and separated on the colour of your skin it's not normal, so it's normal. And I've got full brothers and siblings who are white with blue eyes and blonde hair, and they're my full brothers and sisters. So I was probably subject to quite a bit, but I didn't realise it. And it was only until I started to realise, actually, I'm more than what I think I am. As a person, I'm probably trying to still figure myself out identity-wise, and that's in 2017. That's what got me involved with Jamaica, because I really wanted to understand who I am, where I'm from, not be naive and neglect one side of me. When I know that my mum's from Newcastle, I know that I've got roots in Jarrah. My great granddad did the Jarrah marches. I know all that, but I wanted to know the other side of stuff of my granddad, who's actually still alive, and represent a little bit of where he was born, my heritage, and things like that, and kind of coincided at the exact same time. With my identity, to then start calling out a little bit of what I'd say racism now. I'm not going to say that I got it the worst, and nowhere near am I getting racism the worst, particularly because I can defend myself, and I will call it out. And I think with me, the biggest thing why I jump and try and speak on this kind of stuff is it's not just racism for me, it's discrimination of all sorts. So you saw we took the knee, and some people take it just for racism, and that's fine. Look, that's them. I do it for discrimination in all form. I just feel like I don't want to say it just because, well, you're mixed race, so you just don't want racism, or someone calling you the N word or the P word. I mean, I was brought up and I was mainly called the P word instead of, and I was like, I don't understand why and what is it? What does it mean? And then you start to grow up, you start to understand, and you think it's just, but now if someone called me it now, it'd just be another word thrown around. It wouldn't mean anything to me.
When was the first time that you kind of started to speak up about discrimination towards yourself or other people? What was the trigger to go, that's not right, I need to say something?
You know what? It was it's probably embarrassing myself here, but I was at like a bit of a sleepover in like load of us lads. It was young. It was about 10. And someone just called me a monkey, and I was thinking, oh, I don't like that. Like, you were going around chatting a load of rubbish and that, so just took myself off, walked off. We were camping in my mate's granddad's garden.
So that was a friend who called you that?
Yeah. I don't think they fully understood it, but at that point I was like, I've already feel a bit of an outsider. I'm in an area that I'm not sure about. I've had to get a couple of buses here. I'm a bit like already, and then I'm a monkey, but no one else has been called anything. Took myself away, just had a cry in the tent. And at that point, all of them came around and were like, what's up? And I was like, I don't want to be isolated because you think I look like something else. I don't like it. And then at that point, it was like, they straight away understood. They was like, oh, we were joking. Look, he's a lion, he's a tiger, he's a panda. And I was like, yeah, but you didn't. But at the point, I was just like, oh, I've cried enough in front of people. Let me get on with this now. And then at that point, I was like, right. And then growing up with my brothers, that was rough. That was, because they knew that wound me up. So they just do it out of spite. They wouldn't mean anything by it.
These were your white brothers?
Yeah, well...
Appeared.
Yeah, I got Jordan, who's, white. Nathan, mixed race. Mitchell, mixed race. My sister's mixed race. So and Richie's mixed race. But Jordan, it was just all the time, constant. But they won't be bothered by it. They grew up even before me a little bit earlier. So
they were probably sanitised too.
Oh, yeah, they were already sanitised. They were coming at me, and I'm like, I've not got the resolve that you've got right now. Yeah. But that was all right.
I bet it made you build a thicker skin, but you shouldn't have to build a thicker skin to put up with stuff like that, should you?
Oh, 100%, but it did.
Yeah.
And I don't think, look, as mad as it sounds, the way I had to deal with it, I don't think I would have got to where I've kind of got to without having that thick skin. I think especially playing at Leeds, you know, it's a club with high expectation. You open yourself up to a lot of
Did you experience stuff at Leeds? Because I know in that piece that you said that, because that's one thing, it's happening in your everyday life as a 10-year-old amongst friends and kids who don't really know any different at that age. Not that that's an excuse.
No, but it makes a difference.
Exactly. But then when it's happening to you from adults, like you're in the crowd, something, because you said that you had to call the police. You got the RFL involved many times. No one was really interested.
Yeah,
it was like you were sort of complaining and shouting from the rooftops, but no one was listening.
Yeah, and the problem is it's just evidence. It's just that unless you're wearing a mic, and I mean even the point, if you're wearing a mic and someone says it to you, you need to prove it's them.
So you would experience this from people in the crowd that you could see them doing it to you.
Yeah, you just, not so much myself. You know, I've been coaching at Stanningley 5 years, and we've had games. Like, I won't mention teams. It's all done in the past now. It's already documented who it was and stuff. But you know, we'd be there playing, and my team would be getting home the top of another team, and "Black, see you next Tuesday" would be shouted towards one of our players. Clear as day. Ref's got head cam on, so you can hear it on the footage. You can, whatever. But unfortunately, no evidence. And I just think it's conclusive enough that you've got 5 people, one from the opposition team, saying, look, this happened. But it's not conclusive enough to cause conviction. Growing up, obviously it happened to me. That's probably why I've come off Facebook. I got a lot of abuse on there, colour your skin. Took it to RFL, took it to the thing, and you know. But that stuff's ancient history. I just hope when I brought that to the table, hopefully stuff like that could have been kind of looked at and used as an example to help further it. And I know now we do have like a diversity board on these kind of matters. You know, there is a board of people that now, if there's anything like this from grassroots all the way through Super League, it is brought to the attention of people, and it's looked at probably the right way. You know, it is difficult when there's no evidence and it's your word against somebody else's, but equally without that kind of, well, you just can't throw accusations about them.
No, it must be hard at the time, because you think, I'm going to say something, I'm calling something out, I've got no evidence, I'm going to probably bring a lot of heat on myself. Is it worth the effort? But then when you look at it, without action that the likes of you took, there wouldn't be diversity officers, there wouldn't be those small changes in the game and the society that we see. So I can imagine it being tough at the time, but when you look back on the last few years and there's still so many changes and so much improvement to be made. But when you see that in a short space of time there has been activity and there's been improvements made, hasn't there?
Yeah, 100%. There's been improvements, and you know, you're right. I did open myself up to a load of stick, a load of it. Every other comment was stop pulling the race card.
Oh, really? You got some shit like that, did you?
Yeah, stop pulling the race card. Why you always got your race card out? It's not about race. It's about how good
players
you are.
as well.
No players. Look, as a playing group, it's pretty good in rugby. Look, there is scenarios where people have had that in the past. I can't comment. I've not had that. You know, I guess my position has always been pretty clear. Like, just treat me as the guy you know. Close your eyes, you still love me. So just, do you know what I mean? Like, I try to give energy, try to give love, and hopefully it's reciprocated.
I've had an incident with a player. Well, it was with Jordan, actually.
Yeah. So
when we were at Saints, we were under team building. We went for a few drinks and some food. And one of the other lads, who was an Aussie guy, was telling a story. And he said, oh, anyway, this black CUNT did this. And then I looked at Jordan, and he wasn't happy. So I said, mate, you shouldn't say that. He went, what do you mean? I went, you shouldn't say those words, it's not right. He went, yeah, I know, Jordan, it's fine. He was a good fella. I went, no, but you shouldn't speak like that, it's not right. He went, do you want to go? I went, well, yeah, if you want. Anyway, nothing happened, but there was a point when we nearly had a fight. But then I felt like me, as a white Caucasian guy, saying it instead of Jordan, who's one of my good mates, probably meant a bit more, because I'm saying it because it's wrong. Whereas if Jordan would have said something, it would have been that he's got an agenda, or it would have been a bit more bitter. And I think he appreciated it, but I know at the time it was quite heated, and it can be. But unless if you see something, you got to say it, haven't you?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest messages that we're trying to get across with the whole campaign. It was, you know, spreading awareness through taking the knee. Well, that's kind of, it did lose its meaning towards the end. It got trivialised and whatever.
Politicised, didn't it? That
was the problem.
And
it was just like, look, this is just to get you thinking about it, and you hear it, call it out. And the reason why I would never really be too bothered about taking heat from it is like, we're trained to flipping protect ourselves in a game of rugby, so I'm sure I can protect myself over you hurling abuse at me. That's fine. But there's someone somewhere, a kid in like Chapeltown, who is probably getting a load of abuse for the colour of his skin and probably can't defend himself. And it needs someone like you speaking up and you know, myself, Bruno, JT, all speaking of experiences. It's not stuff that it's not nice to speak about, but it's equally it's not hard to speak about.
Yeah.
It's just being given the opportunity to speak about it.
Something really poignant, I think, that Michael Lawrence said was that he always felt during his career he had to work 10 times harder than all the white players just to get that recognition within rugby league. Is that something that you felt?
No, me personally, I've never felt like that, because I'd never give you anything short of everything I've got, and if that's not good enough, I could literally just go sleep and be happy. I think that's always like the idea I've had. So,
but that outside recognition, in terms of like
But I
maybe
think-
England call-ups or whatever, you know.
no,
like,
I just think Bruno's like upbringing and my upbringing are probably different. So again, if I'm a little bit desensitized to that, I wouldn't recognise it. But I wouldn't need to recognise it. I'd just give you everything I've got. And if it genuinely isn't good enough and I get overlooked, it's not good enough, I can just live with it. And I guess, yeah, I've never looked at anything like that, and I probably wouldn't myself. I think I'm in a position, playing rugby, you're an entertainer, aren't you? That's your job, you're an entertainer, and you have the power to influence and kind of change opinions if you articulate properly. But I think with the way I look at it is, if I've got a message, I can say it on behalf of others rather than myself, and with stuff like that, I just don't think me looking at that and getting thingy about that and wondering ifs and whats and buts is worth my time. I could be using it elsewhere. And look, I can't speak on behalf of Bruno. He's a good mate of mine, and I know what's happened to him and how he feels. We spoke privately, and it's not my place to speak on his behalf, but yeah, look, if that's how he feels, and that's how he feels.
I think it was a really positive time in many ways, though, wasn't it? Particularly for, you know, you're sat here with two guys who probably can't understand white privilege, even though, you know, we never had any struggle, and we grew up without, you know, the background that you described about 25 minutes ago. But, you know, on that piece I remember that you did for Sky, I think it was Michael as well saying it, that he had people sort of saying, oh, you're all right for a black guy, you know, and he wanted to use his pedestal as a Super League star to stand up for the people who will never stand in front of 25,000 people and score a try and so on, who's a plumber in Huddersfield, or they're fixing someone's electricity box or whatever, and then they're going down the pub and getting shit from people. Yeah. They're the people that he feels like he needs to represent, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know, when he's representing people like that, it makes it worthwhile. I think, I don't know how you feel. You know, when you finish up and you finish playing, and a lot of people, Jones has talked to me about this as well, and you might be able to, when you finish playing, I guess the trophies and the moments and the games, they're like a byproduct out there. It's like the legacy that you leave, the relationships that you've built, the people that you meet, and what you've stood for while you've done it. And Jones, you always spoke about that. You know, while he does take every opportunity to wear his Super League rings everywhere he goes around Bramley, trust me, I see it all the time.
Mr. T.
Don't mention
Mr. T rolling round with
don't
him.
mention Super League rings around, Mark.
I've only had one, and it got robbed from my house.
Been robbed?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We put campaigns out over the years, no one's brought it back
no
yet.
one's brought it back.
Did you not get one back from club, no?
No.
Don't they get handed a fair few?
Yeah, but I didn't get one. Thanks, Saints.
Yeah. No comment.
Where is Mark's ring? Hashtag.
No, but that's it. And it's just mad. It's a mad situation. I think we have moved on a lot since when we started the campaign. I think, look, to get a load of hate, it's a great thing. I think on the back of the campaign, you was always opening ourselves up to a load of kind of shit. But once you kind of weather that storm, and people that like don't take the knee, go away because they find a new agenda. Yeah, you know, they want to go hate on women's football and then they go there and the women's football bite back and they do their bit, and all these different things are starting to go, no, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Mm-hmm. It's kind of being the minority turning into the majority of, look, this ain't acceptable. You just do what you want to do, but over there, don't bring that here and your ideas and your ideology over there. Because again, if we're living in a free world, they can think and feel how anyone can think and feel how they want to feel. Act upon it's a bit different, and to actively go and hate is different. And once we got rid of all that and we kind of saw the message as it was, I think we had a massive response. I think it was massively needed in rugby league.
I was going to say, 3 years on, how do you think rugby league has addressed a lot of the concerns that you had at the time, and clearly still do in many departments?
Yeah, look, I think rugby league as such is, it tries to be pioneering in things like this. It does, but it also waits for other sports to kind of lead the way, and that's frustrating because I know with a sport like rugby league, we are so family orientated as a group. We can move faster than the bigger sports. We can do stuff faster. We just choose not to, and it's that choice of not doing it really frustrates. And whichever it is, you know, with the direction that we're going to go with the IMG, with whether we're going to be playing 30 minutes against Lee or the full game again, whichever way we do it, we could just do it faster because we've got the manoeuvrability. And at that point, it just felt, right, we've done it. Now we need to build on it. And I do think we are building on it. I think, look, we're women, you know, black people being more represented within the game and you know, on the media and things like that. And the opportunities of kids coming through. Look, I think there was always opportunities for everybody, but actually having teams like Jamaica going into communities probably where they're not fully getting as much exposure as other clubs because of how many people play the sport, not through the colour of the skin, but obviously it has to be a numbers game, doesn't it, at some point. Jamaica going in there and engaging, you know, it's massive. You know, Chapeltown Cougars, we went in there, engaged, and we had numerous kids there that probably never played the game before, joining up and starting to play rugby. And that's the only way we're going to do it and build a sport as a whole. But I think the biggest thing we have is that inclusivity board. And I think having people on there who are still playing is massive as well.
I think we want to live in a world, though, don't we, where, say, for example, I don't know, you're not going to name the teams quite rightly, and all the information's out there if people want to go and do their own digging. But say a young Ashton Golding is running down the wing at Featherstone, right? And someone's shouting something from the crowd. We want to live in a world now where the person sat next to that person, I'm not saying citizens arrest him, but deals with it himself, right? And actually that person is then outed and dealt with by the club. And I remember just going to football as a kid, something racist would be shouted, and we're talking, you know, maybe late 90s, early noughties, and something would be shouted from the back, and it was met by a kind of just like a bit of sniggering in the crowd and whatever. Whereas now, I think even within football, that's moved on, that would happen. You'd like to think that that's the world we're going to live in, right? That we can deal with this internally as a society.
I truly believe you're right. I don't think I can remember a rugby game, other than a little bit of amateur player to player, but actually a crowd member shouting it on. I can't say I've ever been involved in one of them games. And I can't say that I've ever heard of that, especially in our sport. But I do believe you're right. I think if that is said, I think people will now question it. I think people understand that's not right. And, you know, all it takes is one person to say something. It's your decision how you react to it. So if you just don't say, you kind of enable it a little bit and you allow him to then say that next comment and the next comment. If you squash it in the bud, just say, look, mate, that's not on. Or just something. It just helps. It helps everything that people have been fighting for and trying to build. And whether that's racism or discrimination over gender or sexuality, things like that are massive. And you don't want to. It's hard because you don't understand. Look, I can't choose whether I'm black or white. Look, I am black. I mean, well, I probably could if I wanted to, but I'm not. You know, I am who I am. I found out that you got to just embrace who you are, and equally, if you see me, I'm a brown man, so you can have an opinion of me straight away. It's absolutely fine of people to do that. But if you see someone who's gay, well, you don't know they're gay. And if they feel you are discriminating against one, they don't feel comfortable now being themselves. They won't even tell you who they are. And that's sad. That's real sad. I think that's a world I don't want to be in, where someone doesn't even feel comfortable in their own self to say, look, yeah, I'm gay. And that's kind of why we all do this, I think, where we have the underpinned, you know, I've my experience of racism, you know, but equally it's for the bigger picture of I want anybody and everybody to feel comfortable who they are. Like, there's a point in which, look, I'm okay with you being you and I am me and you are you. I don't like you because of you, not what or who you are, just your person. Do you know when that works out? Yeah, you personally. Yeah. But when that's the world we live in and it's based upon the character of the person and not the way the person looks or the actions they do, well, I think that's probably a step forward. Yeah, massively. But at the moment, you go 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
And I think we have gone through things with a fine tooth comb. Whether it helps, I don't know. I can only speak from sort of the football world as well and the sort of media and the commentary side of things. I remember I've been in numerous sort of like Zoom calls with people like Rio Ferdinand and players played long before him in the 80s and 90s who you know, things that are used in commentary, even things like nitty gritty and sold down the river and all these slave trade connotations and things you'd hear on a daily basis, right? And even just that sort of education, which all happened post George Floyd, lazy stereotypes, calling black players strong and powerful, and like, well, you call a spade a spade. If someone is strong and powerful, then let's 100%. Use some common sense. But it's about actually thinking about, well, why, and that's something that Michael picked up on that piece as well, was the lazy stereotypes which we use, and that is what's caused all these problems in the crowds.
Yeah, and look, I think, but by him acknowledging that, you're speaking about it, I'm speaking about it, and we can then start to really.
But is that the good thing to have the conversation?
Yeah, not normalise it.
Did you find it weird? Did some of your white friends find it weird to have those conversations with you? Was it like walking on eggshells?
No, the first time, obviously, when I was called a monkey, that was a close group of friends. They just really didn't know. But at the time, I was probably going through my own stuff as well and trying to work out who I was. Why didn't I look like all my mates? And it was just a weird one. And look, as soon as I said, look, I'm not happy with that comment, it was like, we're all best mates, you know what I mean? Jumped in jacuzzi and chilled out, had a kind of Pepsi and that were it. Oh yeah, I know. His granddad was very wealthy, trust me, he was a very wealthy granddad. But yeah, from there it was like, they understood, they backed me, they understood there's certain things that are acceptable and not acceptable. And the main thing is, like, my closest mates now, they've taken the time to learn and understand. It's not just me having to hammer the drum, they've literally understand kind of culture, the culture and the wording and things like, things like black man time. They say that and I'm like, yeah, I do always turn up late. I do.
You were late today, actually.
Yeah, listen, traffic.
Come a long way.
Look, but just to sort of throw the RFL side of it, because I don't want people from the RFL listening and thinking, hold on, why have you not mentioned this? Because, and this is all things going in the right direction, right? They did set up the Tackle It programme, and the sort of 4 strategic goals of that was to widen the reach and impact of rugby league, diversify rugby league's talent pool and workforce, improve culture of rugby league, and clarify processes, instilling confidence in and encouraging the reporting of discrimination, which is something we've just been talking about. Have you noticed those 4 points going upwards?
Look, personally, I'm probably more heavily rooted in the grassroots, so I have a really good understanding. I've been coaching there 5 years now at open age level, so I have a really good understanding of kind of the process you have to go through. We've had accusations made against our players of racism, and that's difficult. If you're an advocate for this, you have to be an advocate for it the whole way. And as soon as these accusations, listen, go do your statement now, put it forward and tell the truth. And then to the people that was the victims of that, I go over and I console. If you truly believe this has been said, put your statement forward now, fully back it with everything we've got. The club will give you a full investigation. I think it's important to know that if the club is, you can have all these initiatives, but if the people don't want to buy into them, then it doesn't matter. Whereas, being quite, cemented at Stanningley now, knowing a lot of the people there and being there a while, I can speak for my club. We do it. We love that. It's what we needed. But equally, you can have all the programs in the world. If people aren't wanting to buy into it, it's difficult.
But what more can be done? I know that's such an open-ended, cliched question, but from what you have been singing from the rooftops quite rightly about, what more can change still today, 3 years on from that?
It's really difficult. It's a difficult question. More so difficult because I'm not experiencing it at the moment. Yeah. And it sounds mad, innit? You don't want to have to experience it to know how to change it. But I just feel it's people. I'm at Stanningley and I'm pushing it, and I've got people around me. If I'm not there and they hear something or they feel something's not right or the opportunity is not being given through certain things, they call it. Like you with JT, they'll just call it, and that's a club.
But that's institutional racism, right? And it's actually, bearing in mind, it happened in the same city with what's happened with the cricket, with Yorkshire, right? And people dragged into it like Michael Vaughan and how they've tried to sort of rebrand that club. Yeah, that's institutional. That's come right from the top.
Well, I think it's more generational. I don't think it's institutional.
I think generational. Yeah.
I think you speak to my granddad. I'm named after him, Gerald, but he had his own ideas and certain things. He wasn't a perfect man within his ideas, but that was the area that he was born in, and I think I have to understand that.
But if it's generational and it's accepted, then it becomes institutional.
100%, but it's not accepted, and this is where people probably, that generation there and then their kids are struggling, because you've got the new generation or whatever we are, banging a drum saying, look, probably not right now, you didn't know better, now you know better. Now if you're not knowing better, it's your decision, and that's where racism comes. And it's difficult, but I just think because rugby league is such a traditional sport, we do have an elder audience, and it's more the case of these little comments and things that are made. It's difficult for them to really understand that it's wrong. But when you call it and you say it, and you've been told to say it again, then you kind of have to know that's wrong.
So there's a lot of ignorance with it, isn't there?
I think
as societies changed and generations have come up. I think people become more well-travelled, more educated in the world we live in. They probably socialise with people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities. People speak about the feelings more. So you think with that happening more and more that our children, their children after them, will kind of know better, and it'll be hopefully be a distant memory. But I think there's a lot of old people stuck in their ways, and they might not think they're racist, but they might kind of have that, subconscious racism in them and discriminate, and they might not know it, but unless they're called out on it, they don't know any better, do they?
This fits nicely into your Jamaican journey, doesn't it? And this quote was really nice, I thought, where you describing that journey and said, it's changed me as a person. I found out that there's so much more to me than this kid who was born in Bramley and Leeds. There's another side to me and my family that I wasn't aware of. How sort of big a part did making your granddad, God rest his soul, but making that sort of side to the family proud and representing Jamaica at a World Cup?
Yeah, honestly, it was such a whirlwind of a journey. I think in 17, it did take a lot of soul searching. I just missed out on a grand final, but we won, which was a really mixed emotion. You want to be part of it, you want to be in trenches with your mates anytime you can be, but equally, you wasn't. But it was the right decision. It took a lot of years and a mature head on my shoulders to understand that the right decision was made that year. And
did you get a ring, by the way, that year?
I got a ring.
Can I have it?
Sorry, mate. It's already promised out to another player who was else got robbed, actually, but he got one back from club.
Some of these robbers have got more rings than the people who won them.
Who was that?
Stevie Ward.
Stevie Ward, but Leeds, but got a replacement for him when his house was robbed.
Yeah, because I met.
What a lovely club Leeds. I know that.
Do you want to do another?
Wish I'd played there.
I spoke to him. I felt obliged as 18th man that I'd have to hand mine over, but he told me he got another one.
No,
I was ready. The thought was there.
Is Mike Rush watching, do you think?
Do you want to do another campaign down the camera?
Another one. Mike, Eamon, Paul Wellens.
Show me the ring.
Show me one of them babies.
Go on, Ash, we interrupt.
No. I like them interruptions. It was just the moment of kind of getting the opportunity. I was already booked on a holiday. I was ready to go. I needed a break. My head was frazzled, and the opportunity was, look, you want to play for Jamaica against France? In France, they've got a World Cup and we've been asked to play them. First answer was, I've got holiday booked, I can't. And I think they've heard that quite a lot. A lot of players saying, I've got holiday, Super League players and stuff like that. And they were just like, no worries, like pretty blunt. And I was like, just give me 5 minutes. And as soon as I did, I made some texts, rang a few family members. I was like, I got this opportunity.
Was a future with England in your head at all, or not?
No, never. No. Look, if that was an eventuality, if that was something that was going to happen, that would have just happened. But for me, it was about more than that. I was wondering who I was. I was like, look, I actually don't look like any of these. I know that I've got Jamaican heritage, but what does that mean? Like, what does it mean? I conformed more with my mum, who was white, than my dad, who was black, and it was like, right, well, I do need to understand this. So I was like, cancel my holiday, but start to pay for it, and then I'll fly out after the game to where everyone is and meet them all on holiday. So it cost me an absolute bomb, and I was like, but it'd be worth it, surely. Went over and I've never looked back. I just found out so much about myself on one trip, and after that one trip, it was like an addiction.
What did the trip consist of away from rugby?
Training.
Was it seeing old relatives that you didn't know, like cousins and uncles and
No, it was because it was in France, so it was like it was more just being around like lads who was like me.
Right, okay.
Massively weird, but it was like, you grew up in England, yeah, but you're Jamaican, yeah, and you celebrate that, yeah. How? I was asking questions. I was like, how, why, what, where? And through them questions, I started to grow. I was like, wow, okay. And it was just knowledge. I'd go home, I'd spend a year playing. I'd be like, we've got another game this year. I'd be texting coach then, we've got a game. Do you want me? Am I playing all right? What can I do for you? And then, it just absolutely spiraled into a World Cup.
It was an amazing story, not to belittle it and to go down another stereotype, but it has got a bit of the cool runnings about it, hasn't it? In
100%.
terms of dragging a team there and getting the nation behind them. I don't know how many trips you've had out to Jamaica, but they haven't even got a dedicated rugby league pitch on the island.
No, not one. There's a lot of problems and struggles over there. We've got some absolute advocates for rugby league, but equally no funding, no financials behind them, and there's a full domestic league being played all around the island. Yet there's no money. Oh yeah. There's
just on what, like basketball courts and stuff.
Yeah, no, there's just fields, but there's marked out. There's 8 teams playing all around the island in different parishes. Yeah, and there's they've got like a state of origin. So they've got like parish v parish, and
So how much would that have done for rugby league in that country in terms of playing at a World Cup and taking it forward now? Because that's what it's all about, right? Obviously, Jason Robinson got involved. It's about, we've had Robbo on the podcast talking about it passionately. It's about leaving a legacy.
We just want to create a massive legacy where kids in Jamaica who are born in England with heritage and have a route. If you're not good at track and field, there's a rugby option. I was probably more suited to track and field when I was growing up, but then it dictated that rugby was my route, and if I could give that to somebody else, you will. And there is loads of plans in the pipelines of what we can do in Jamaica to build it, but it all comes out of money, and we just need that one person to truly believe in what we're doing and to buy into it, but not for a year, not for two. We've got some great sponsors at the moment with Levi Roots, who continues to support us and understand what we're trying to do. It's just hard to do it and get the foundation set on an island that's probably not looking for something else. Rugby league in Jamaica's not recognised. It's frowned upon as such, but we're still doing it. We're still trying. We're still plugging in. We're still trying to inspire.
Well, we've got enough problems trying to grow outside the M62 here. And
serious
on live television.
You can imagine what we're trying to do, yeah.
But I guess it's about trying to make those kids. I just love the imagery of like making a kid who's come from very humble beginnings in Jamaica, then just finding out about the story of the Reggae Warriors, and then going on YouTube and seeing, oh right, these guys actually played at a World Cup in front of huge
we've got the stories. We've actually got a player who's playing professional League One now, who's come over from Jamaica. Who made the journey, just thought, I want to travel and find my dream. He played for Jamaica national team. Quite impressed on his game, and he's come over now playing for London Scholars. So
that's brilliant.
There's an opportunity for him, and there's a pathway there for any player that wants to come over and try and make a name for themselves. Yeah.
Were you 27 yesterday?
I was, yeah.
They've not updated your Wikipedia. It's still 26 on there.
I'm probably still about 72 kilos. Yeah. Below 6 foot. I am
10?
over 6 foot.
It says 5'10".
I was 5'2" and 15 stone for a long time.
I changed yours though, Mark. I changed yours many times. Let's just look at Mark's quickly here.
Yeah.
This is because I changed
with
yours.
that one dickhead who's got too much time on his hands.
Yeah.
I changed it a long time ago. Mark is 5'8".
I've grown,
and he's 15 stone 4.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I'm still growing it.
97 kilos and 1.73 meters. That right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do like going on Wikipedia and changing people's stuff though.
That's officially a chode.
Well, John Wilkie used to change his date of birth every year, so when he was renewing a
new contract.
I go, I'm still only 29. Check my Wikipedia.
My guy.
No, so what I was trying to say was 27 years old. Obviously, we started this talking about your coffee business. You've got fingers in all sorts of pies, and you're the type of personality to just not stop and not sit down and keep going. And you're doing the coaching, you're still playing, but at 27, you've got a lot of miles on the clock, right? In Super League, how excited are you still about the time that you've got once this hamstring repairs?
The hamstring will be fine in 2-3 weeks, but unfortunately that's the end of the year unless we can get in the playoffs. That game against Lee were massive for us, but looking forward, I feel good. I feel fresh. My body feels good. If I can get over this hamstring, I'm on like a bit of a new treatment with it, so that's promising and things like that. But
is the dream to get to a grand final and not watch it from the stands, to be involved in a grand final?
When I played in the Challenge Cup final with Huddersfield last year, it resonated with me massively. A lot of people in my career have said a lot of stuff to me, but while this person's still actively doing his thing, coaching and playing and whatever, I won't mention his name and that, but he sat me down in a room once and he said, look, it's not about what you do to get in the team, it's about what you do so you can't be taken out of it. Don't ever let this be you again. And there's many people said a lot of stuff to me and give me advice, and they'll know who they are if they listen or watch this or whatever, and it just never ever went away from it, ever. And for this day, that's something that I won't take away, and I'll still hold that the next one I get to, because I want to win. I truly believe Huddersfield is a club where I'm going to win some silverware and win a fair bit of silverware. And
is that fire burning more than it ever has been, even as a Leeds player now, to actually get a trophy?
As a Leeds player, the pressure's there, but it's equally, I've always wanted to win everything I've done. If we're eating food, I want to eat faster than you. It's in my nature, but I feel like it's because I had a lot of siblings, so I had to eat faster. You're not going to eat. Called it prison rules growing up. Called it prison rules, yeah. But no, fires, my gosh, it's burning. Why do we do it all if not to win something, to not have something to gratify? And I love the journey. The journey to get there is more important than getting there, but you have to get there. The journey's pointless. You go again and again and again, and you know, I just think we're building something special at Huddersfield. I do.
What's happened this year though? Because I think after the Challenge Cup final last year and a strong run, everyone was tipping them to go to that next level, but it's not happened. What's been the case, do you think?
I don't know. And look, it sounds like a cop-out answer, doesn't it? I don't know, and I wish I could tell you. But I really don't know. It felt good. It felt pre-season. You know, we went away and we had a pre-season trip, and that was unbelievable training. You know, we came together as a group. We had our downtime together, going on the beach. But when we were on that training field, it was like nothing in the world mattered. It was crazy. We were knocking 10 bells of crap out of each other, and it was just normal. And when you can normalise that with your mates and the boys that you go through hell with, you can do it to any team. And it just didn't start to transpire. It did at the start of the year, I won't lie. And we just dropped off a little bit during mid-season, and then obviously we nip our tuck now. But I don't know is the answer. And I just think, well, from my own perspective, I truly believe where we're going. And it might sound crazy with the results, and you know, that's all that anyone ever sees. I'm lucky and privy enough to see the other side of it, where I'm in every meeting. I'm seeing the face, the emotion, the raw desire to win. And look, the way that certain people speak in that group, you know, like to Chris Hill, the way that he speaks about winning, if you can't buy into that, I don't know what you're going to buy into. When he says, we're doing it, you don't question, you just do it. So when you got a leader like that in your group, and Luke Yates and, you know, Chris McQueen just saying stuff, you do it. But it's just not transpired into results, which is crazy. And look, the teams that we've lost, they've been outstanding, miles better than us, but we know in ourselves what we can do. We've underperformed massively, and it's about time that the birthplace of Rugby League actually did something where it was recognised for doing it. And we know as a group we have to do that, but it is frustrating for the playing group as well when you don't quite achieve what you know you can, and that's the saddest part of this year. We know that there's been games where we should do miles better than what we've done, and ultimately we're probably about, I'd say, 4 points adrift from that kind of playoff push. So yeah, difficult this year, mate, but
is the
no
exciting
consistent answer, no conclusive answer.
Is the exciting part that you almost don't know when that success might come. I mean, you look at Mark in his twilight years and with Salford, and then got to a grand final against St Helens, you know, got to the Challenge Cup final as well at Wembley.
Yep.
And then you look at what Lee have done recently. You know, what I'm saying is you don't have to be one of those elite teams to win silverware now, do you? And at 27, there's still plenty of time for that to happen with Huddersfield or wherever you might end up in 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah,
no, look, I agree. Hopefully, you know, at 27, I could stay at Huddersfield for another 10 years. I try not to bullshit myself. You know, I don't know if I can say that. Sorry.
You can say we got worse than that. Yeah.
Sorry. I try not to bullshit myself. I try to say, look, right, as an individual, where do I want to be? What do I not do? And that's something I want to do. I want to win, and I have to put myself in the best position to win. And the youngsters coming through Huddersfield are outstanding, and the pure coming through a system now with Wattle here for a few years, understand what we need of them coming through into that first team. And we've got players of, you know, 22, 23, 24, hungry. They've tasted that Challenge Cup now. They've almost had it, but just got taken away just last minute, you know. And I just feel the way we train, the infrastructure we've got around us, you know, the new training base that's being built up on the top of M62.
We got a new training base?
Yeah, we're getting it developed up on there.
All on one...
Up on Ainley Top, so we're all in one place. And
perfect.
What's happening in and around the club, from when I signed there 4 years ago now, 4 years ago, to what's happening now, it is worlds apart. So, you know, we use the term elite, like elite clubs, and we define elite by winning, don't we? And they've won, so they can have that definition. But I don't just want to win it once. I'd like to think next year and the year after the year, I can win it every year. And it's a crazy thought.
So you just want to win it once. Is that a case of to have ticked it off, to have had that recognition, and when people look back on your, you know, CV in 20, 30 years time from now, that you actually did have something to represent all the work that you put in?
Yeah, look, I think I heard Ryan talking about it, and, you know, he mentioned that his career is based on the success of a trophy and things like that. And look, I can completely understand that. When I watch that, he sounds like a winner. He sounds like an absolute, everything he does is to win, and I love that. I can completely understand that, but I just want to win it once. I don't want my career to be based on, look, you won it in 15, well done, or you won it in 24, well done. I want to consistently win and dominate. And I think we all do at Huddersfield, and we all literally have that same ideology. It's just difficult to come on here and say that when we've had the season we've had. But I know what I want to achieve, and I know the work that has to go into that, and equally the boys know that as well, and it's on them to put themselves in the best position, and us as well. But I think the best thing I can say is when you're at a club and you can see the club around you working, and you're not doing anything, but you can see everybody else around you working, the tickets, we're pushing the sales for the fans coming in, or supporters, I hate the term fans, supporters coming in, and we've got state-of-the-art facilities in the stadium, and the training base is being built, and you've got a backer who absolutely adores and loves the club and can have an open honest look. When you see all that,
it's all the ingredients you need.
It's a tick. It's just the on-field then. And when all that's in place, it all comes down to on-field.
Yeah.
And I think I want to be at Huddersfield when it's down and it's like that. It's just pure us. Down in trenches, the expectation is all on us now. This year it was a little bit like, well, we're still part of this, but we've done this last year, we want to do this. No, you have to do this, or you're gone. That kind of pressure either makes diamonds, doesn't it? And that's kind of what I like. I like that cutthroat kind of business. And yeah, so look, I think Huddersfield's a great club. I think what we're doing is we're building the right way, and we've got good people there as well. Helps.
So let's just fast forward, and to finish then, 30 years from now, you've just turned 57, you're probably still 5'10" on Wikipedia, if Wikipedia's still going.
I'll be about 6'4", we keep growing.
With all these things that you've got going on in your life, how will you want to look back in 30 years from now and think, right, I'm content, I've ticked things off? Because I know earlier you sort of talked about how it's not just the winning, it's the sort of how you did it and the personality and how you imprinted that on everyone around you. What would make you happy looking back in 30 years? What do you need to do?
Good question. Look, of course I want to win, and if it gets to that point, I'm getting 36, 37. I'd like to think I could do another 10 years, but I think we all do, don't we? We all do, and it just catches up. But look, right, I'm getting back into my career, and I've not won anything. Like, I don't care how I do it, I just want to win something then. But while I've got a little bit of time right now, I'd like to think I'd appreciate the journey and contextualise it. I think my playing career, I think when I was at Leeds, the phrase that I said to myself was, because I was coming behind Zach Hardaker, man of steel. Do you know what I mean? He was the world's greatest, and that was hard to then back up and be the next guy. Do you know what I mean? The guy after Sir Alex Ferguson. Well, you be that guy, enjoy it. But I always give the best version of myself, and I think if I know that, if I can truly hand on heart say, look, everything I did 100%. I didn't cut corners. I didn't try to find the easy route. I just did it as it was, plain blank, black and white. I did it that way. I probably could sleep easier at night. There's things I want to achieve in that time, in 30 years, on and off the field. I coach Stanningley, so I've been doing that a while. I quite enjoy coaching. But I don't know. I think I'd like to know that I give it everything, because you only get one shot at it. I mean, the sport of rugby league's brutal, but it's the most rewarding sport you'll ever play in your life if you really give it a good try and build the relationships you build and see the thing. Look, I've been all over the world through rugby. I should not have seen anything near what I've seen, and for me to have that experience, it's everything. So yeah.
And maybe, Mark, who knows, even a collab with PKB and... Do you call yours
PKC?
It's PKC, go. PKB.
There we go.
Palm Coffee Company, Pot Kettle Black.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There's some sort of link up.
PKK and
Wonderful to see the flat white price come down now off the back of...
No. You see, this is how it happens in coffee. Yeah. So I see the market's now up here. I just need to persuade my business partner, but he don't want to get persuaded. He works in there, so he don't want to tell customers.
Oliver Wilson,
yeah,
he's a baby, right? He's like 23.
Yeah,
he's well ahead of you and John, wasn't he?
Is he a Bradford lad?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was, yeah.
Oh, no, you... I think you might think he's a rugby player, don't you?
I'm thinking of Oliver Wilson rugby.
Nah, you ain't got two brain cells. If you're watching, Ollie, you ain't got two. If you're listening, you ain't got two brain cells opening up business.
Why I assumed
you try to run the VAT. I don't think you're going to run no VAT.
I just assumed because he was at Huddersfield with you.
So I owned a previous coffee shop before. In COVID, I built one. I opened. It was a laundrette. I put a coffee machine in there, redid it, refurb, put wall through. Did really well, better than anyone could have anticipated. So I thought, cash in, cashed in, made a fair bit of money, and then one of my staff members there was called Oliver Wilson. Lovely bloke, worked in a few coffee shops. Without him, would not have been possible.
Yeah,
So I absolutely poached him from Lidl.
Yeah. From Lidl.
From Lidl.
Did you?
And he was on good money, so I don't know why he
Yeah,
came
they get
with
well
me.
paid at Lidl and Aldi, don't they?
Like £12, £15 an hour. I was mad.
Cash money.
Serious.
Well, Ashley, look, really appreciate you coming down the M62, busy M62, which is why you were late. We'll let you off.
Listen.
You weren't late, you were 4 minutes late. Top man, thank you so much. Look, I hope the injury sorts itself out, and be interesting to see where the Golding journey goes, over the next 5 years.
I'll see if any of the stuff I've just spoke about could transpire, put it into the universe.
Manifestation.
So something will come back your way.
Top man. And look, Mark, you're back, but who knows? We might go from 4.9 to 5, or we might go back to 4.8,
Yeah.
and when Carl comes back, we'll get to a 5. Because that's
Yeah.
always
Who
been
knows?
our dream, isn't it, to get to a 5?
Who knows? I'm back. You might not be back next week. I might not be back. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not back next week because we're not back for 2 weeks, but yeah.
No. It's good, this, isn't
It's
it?
good, this, isn't it? All the best.
All the best.
Goodbye.